And our topic today is very exciting. It's common sense, as in cents, the smaller of shillings. And that's a very exciting topic, and I'm all excited. I hope you're excited as I am. Today, I am joined by two good friends, and I want them to introduce themselves. This is Vera, and this is Alex. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I would like you to introduce yourselves so that Mamlaka hiyo chapo Budhruaka, NCT, and our friends can get to know you and get to relate with you. Please.
All right. Thank you, Reverend Maggie. I'm Alex Mungai Rorie. I'm the CEO of Moran Capital. And obviously, we are a private wealth management firm, and we do investment advisory to individuals, families, groups, corporates, just to help them to craft a strategy to create a long-term success in their investment management and family legacy. I'm also obviously a father. I'm very proud of that because it brought to fore the thoughts of having to think long term, you know, like a king. I have to think of how my heirs and their future will be taken care of with whatever I have, not because you have the resources as a king, but with whatever I have. And, you know, very proudly so also working, of course, very closely with the church. I really appreciate because a lot of what ideas we have around money have come from our understanding of what God meant for us as a father and how he provided resources to manage through the generations. So over the 21 years I've been in the investment management space, those have been things that have propelled me to better myself and to understand more around how to manage money, and that's why I guess we're having this conversation. Yes.
Thank you so much, Alex. And you also, by profession, by training?
Yes, by training, of course, I did my finance. I did my master's in University of Kent in finance. I also did my bachelor's in England, in Kent, and I've spent a lot of time. I spent 10 years there looking at successful families, people who had, I managed fairly successful people, and I saw the strategies they use. And when I came, obviously, into the country, I started working at PricewaterhouseCoopers in the UK. I came to Kenya. I worked for some insurance companies, UAP or Mutual, British American, and then I ended up, my last stint as an employee was at Standard Chartered Bank. I was head of investments, looking at the Eastern African markets and developing that business for clients in that area. So been experienced that way, but also now having been in Moran the last 9 years, we've been running our business with at least 300 clients, portfolio clients, which means there are families in there. So there are a lot of people we are affecting, and we are very careful to look at how to make sure that this successfully rolls out into the future. So that's been our experience, of course, in between having attended quite a number of trainings, Euro money, and getting a lot of awards, which just helps you to identify that your strategy is correct. Trainer of trainers in various investment vehicles. So we've been working closely with the Capital Markets Authority to understand the market as well, so that we have market relevance. So that has been us for, at least for me, for the last 21 years in this market.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alex. And I think you threw in law somewhere.
Yes, actually, in my family space, one of the advantages is that I did law. As part of my degree course, I did law, and it helps me because once you've done contract law, you understand contracts. So I've been able to engage with my dad and a few other people, helping them along with understanding contracts. So whenever I see a contract somewhere, I'm able to identify which clauses could create a challenge. A lot of times people could find that they created a good deal, but they left some areas open to be exploited. Somebody could go and do the same thing somewhere else. So there was, you know, you didn't think about registering your copyright. You didn't think about, you know, protecting your rights. Even sometimes today you hear, I went and sold a property as an agent, and then you don't know that you're supposed to even be a registered agent. So when you go to claim commission, you are wondering which institution should you say that you are, you know, denied your commission. They don't recognize you.
Wow.
So those
There
are
you go.
things that every time you're going into business and understanding business law is very, very critical. So that side of law helps me, and working with the family, even in my extended family, we work very closely because, you know, there is a lot of issues on estate matters. So you need to have that exposure. So we are lucky we have that understanding.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Yeah.
It's your turn, Vera, to introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Vera Mungai, and I am a co-director at Moran Capital, where I do the finance and operations side of things. And as Alex said, yes, we do investment advisory and wealth management services. And in addition to that, I am a mother of 4 children. I have 1 daughter and 3 sons. And with regards to my background, well, I studied actuarial science, and then from there went into the insurance industry, so where I worked at Jubilee Insurance. And then later on joined investment banking, where I was at Kestrel Capital. So that's where now, you know, just doing the corporate finance, the dealing, and all those sorts of things in the finance world. So really happy to be here. Thank you.
What a joy to welcome you guys.
Yeah.
And I think if I also welcome the viewers to listen to the wealth of knowledge in terms of finance and financial management issues from both of you, I think it will be in order, isn't it? Yeah. So my great pleasure to welcome you. And I always feared actuarial scientists.
Really?
Yes, because when I was in school one time, I was told that you have a box. It has 10 yellow balls,
Yes.
20 pink. 30 are yellow. We have yellow, blue, pink, and red, and all the balls are 70. What are the chances that if you dip your hand inside, you come with 1 yellow ball?
The probability.
Probability
of
things,
yes,
things that they
very simple.
they
Just the
went
ratios.
through my mind completely, and Vera is able to understand that very well. So what a joy. We won't ask you that question, but for the benefit of our viewers, if you have a question to do with that complicated matter, please let that question come right now. So now, without further ado, thank you so much for those lavish introductions, because they help us understand that when you ask you about financial sense or common sense in money, we are sure you give us a response we can work with. So let's go ahead and ask you, what's the common sense in financial matters? Let's start with you, Vera. What's the common sense in financial matters? What do we need to understand when it comes to understanding financial matters? And our congregation members, this is so important because we are always dealing with money. Apart from breathing air, we are transacting with money every day. So money is such an important component of our lives today. We can't deal with life without money. So it's so important that we understand a little basics about money. Hence my question.
Wow, what's the common sense where money is concerned? For me, I would say, at least as a starting point, it's good to know that money is there. It's a good resource to have. It's a good thing, but it's a double-edged sword where you need to make wise decisions in terms of how you manage it. So how you make it, in terms of, I think, needs to be in line with whatever your skills, your talents, and your knowledge. So that's where at least that sort of passion should lead us to how do we make the money. But when we get it, it's a double-edged sword. So there's really a lot of thought that needs to go into it on how to manage it in the best way. So it's all about the management. Yeah, that's what I would say in terms of common sense.
Wow, Alex, what do you do? Add something there. Is there another sense to this financial monster that gives us trouble and joy at the same time?
Yeah. Money is a vehicle, okay, and it will take you where you're going. So either you define where you're going, or you get in and it goes anywhere. And sometimes it could be going in the wrong place. Secondly, if you don't define your destination with money, you alight anywhere, and anybody else has an interest will take it, because you've also not defined your relationship very clearly. Money is like a river going into an ocean. It goes into the places where it can be stored with other money. It is attracted to where it can be stored with others of its nature. So if you look at anybody who wants to put money into something, they kind of look at somebody who knows how to manage money, right? And there's a lot of money, enough for everybody. You know, if you look at the banks, there's trillions of money lying in a bank. Banks are ready to give you the money. In fact, they will peddle it if they can. But to some people, and to those especially who know how to manage it. So with certainty, there is enough money for everybody. So first of all, don't panic. There is enough money. The thing is, what are the tools that you are displaying that I am ready to let you have it? Because if I give it to you, will you be able to manage it? Or will it come back to me and then I have to look for where, will it grow in your hands? If it will not grow in your hands, then I shouldn't give it to you. You don't know what to do with it. Finally, money is there to solve problems. So if you're solving a small problem, you get a little money. If you're solving a big problem, we give you more money. But the underlying feature is that you know how to solve the problem. If you are a doctor, we give you more money because our problem is bigger. That's why you hear everybody saying they want to be a doctor, because they get more money. Now, if you are doing a smaller task, then we give you little money. So the common sense is, if you want more money, solve a bigger problem. That is the common sense.
I think, Alex, let's stop there so you can come back there right now. Because if money is for solving problems, and I need to have a bigger problem to have more money, otherwise if I have a small problem, I have a little money, and yet you said a little earlier, I need to develop a relationship with money. How do I get to develop a relationship with money? Because I may think that money is an abstract, or you know, it's not a personal, it's not that personal. Do I still need to relate with money that personally?
Yeah, so, okay, let me make it simple, in that money is supposed to help you achieve some goals. Now, if you don't define the goals that money is supposed to achieve, then first of all, there is really no reason you should have money. Where is it going? What is it for? You can't just have it like most people. Weke kwa kitanda ikuliwe na panya. You know, the rats will eat the money, right? You should have something that you are planning to achieve with the money. So your relationship with money is that between me and you, this is what we are solving. These are the issues we are solving. And the bigger the goals, the bigger our relationship and the better it is, because then we are doing bigger things. But then if every time I have the money, it's doing things which are detrimental, then the less of it I should really have. So you should have more money because you are doing value adding things with it. But if it's not adding value, then there will really be just a little to stay with you. And anybody who wants to give the money, whether it is a bank, whether it is your employer, if they see you are unable to handle it, they are also not the ones to come and cause you strife by adding more into the scenario.
Give you grief.
Yeah, it's more grief to you. Yeah, so if you are disorganized or you don't have a plan, then money will avoid you. Yeah.
Even God, who is the owner of the resources, wants a trustworthy manager. So really, if he sees that you're being able to solve his problems and hence you're earning that income, he wants to see, how are you managing it? Are you being able to do, you know, to solve your problems and at the same time solve other people's problems, and are you growing it? You know, so there's a lot of the ownership side being God, who's interested in our money, but he also wants to see, are you a trustworthy manager? And if you're trustworthy, he will bless you with more, because at least there's that aspect of it, maybe from a biblical aspect.
I like that. I like that very much. Let's talk about spending. Most people are concerned about spending. And this a bit of wisdom that is either lacking or needed to be able to spend wisely. And when it comes to, for example, credit spending or spending money on credit, we realize that every day we are flashed with opportunities for easy money. And can we connect that with the lack of problem to solve? I have credit money. It's easy money. It's accessible because I can get unsecured finances, for example. And I haven't created a problem or seen or identified a problem that I can solve with this money. What did you say about that?
Well, so first of all, we have to distinguish every time you get money between where you're putting it because you've gotten credit, what are you doing with it? So if you're going to go into consumer spending, and I'll describe that as in the event that I buy a nice seat, I buy, things which from the day I buy them, there's nothing I'm doing with it to add value or to gain more money to be able to even pay for whatever I bought. When you find money comes to you and you do consumer or consumption spending, then that definitely is digging a hole for yourself. Maybe not the most advisable thing. And credit availability is not a bad thing. What is wrong is how you apply the money. For example, if I then decided I can get credit and buy myself a boda, and then the income from the boda, I use it to buy my sofa, then that is wise spending, because already the boda is able to generate some revenue, pay back the credit, and allow me some extra fat to spend on my obviously very important settee. But then some people then don't understand that relationship. That money must, when you're looking at consumption spending, should be from things like interest, extra money after I have met my obligations. Paying back credit is an obligation that must be met before you are enjoying your other consumption expenditure.
Wow. And yet, Vera, what we notice is that we actually consumed with spending. So we spend to consume, but not to generate the interest I can spend later. And we had another conversation that the Johnsons, the pressure is so much. You have a good car, and I have access to credit, and I want to buy a car like yours. What would you say about that?
Wow. So now that's normally the pressure, and that's where it all goes wrong, because credit is, as Alex said, not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing that you can use for leveraging yourself and being able to access maybe opportunities that were not readily available based on the resources that you had. So it should be from a leverage perspective. But indeed, if you're using that credit to go on holiday, because my friend went on holiday to the Bahamas, or to Mombasa, or to Malindi, and then you decide that, you know what, even I have got access to a loan. So let me actually even go on holiday, or let me upgrade my house. I just moved in, I don't have any furniture. I can't stay like this. So there's that urge, because it's like we have that instant gratification. We want things immediately. So whatever, all those desires, all those dreams that we've always wanted, when we finally get that credit, we want to accomplish those dreams using that money, that instant gratification, which ends up costing us, because as Alex said, you'll have bought those things from the day you remove them from the shop. If it's that car, the value starts going down, and it's not generating any income. So really, so that credit that you, or that loan that you took, you start using your own income to pay off that loan, or that car loan, and yet it ends up depleting and taking part of your taking part of your income. But yet, if you had bought that border with that money, that border would at least be able to pay off the loan and actually even give you some income, some extra income. Or if you had bought something else that is generating at least some money, at least it ends up adding to you and not just costing you. So it's you one needs to be very, very careful. And because loans are so easily advertised. I mean, you'll get them on your SMSs. There are billboards all over. So everyone's selling money. But if you keep taking that money and actually using it for just consumption and buying, upgrading your lifestyle, and keeping up a great image that all is okay, even if things are not very, things are tough, especially during COVID. But we're seeing you with a nice car there. Really, you'll end up really suffering the cost and feeling the cost because it ends up actually being an additional expense to all other expenses that you
have already.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can I throw in a consideration?
Yeah.
Credit is also something that you can create a goal on. I can say that this year I can get credit of 200K, 200,000. Can I build that in 5 years? I will have access to 50 million.
From my 200K?
From my 200K, I will have credit of 50 million. And the only way credit grows is because I'm able to pay. Now, because I'm needing to understand how to pay, I need to sit back and think, then where will I apply it? Because, listen, we said bank is even ready to give you, like many companies, 100 billion.
Yes.
The reason you'll stop yourself from getting to 100 billion is because you can't even handle credit of 20K from Fuliza. You take it, you spend, and then you start hiding under the table. Now, let's think of the other way around. I put a goal that in 5 years, I will be able to get credit from XYZ institution of, I don't know, 50 million or 100 million. What discipline do I need to have done, and who do I need to talk to understand what to do with that money? It will be rarely buy your luxurious car, buy your this thing, they will always tell you, find somewhere you'll put that money, you get a higher margin than you're paying, and then when you pay back, the institution will be happy to raise your credit level. This is the wisdom with credit. Let's be very clear that they say there are few things better than having a good name. But what is a good name? A good name is a leverage.
Yes.
And leverage is being able to, we know the person can pay off.
Yes.
That's what it means. When you have integrity, we know you can pay off. So there is no reason I cannot even write you a check for $1 billion because I know you're going to pay back. But if you're going to be given and go and buy a sofa, then you'll never get there. So we shortchange ourselves when we do things with credit, which will not allow us to have a good name with the institution that is ready to give you even more. So it's a very critical space.
Right.
And even more so, if your circumstances do change, like now what we have seen with the whole COVID situation, I mean, very many people have either had to take a pay cut, but unfortunately even have lost their income completely. Their job losses all over the place. The statistics are actually there, and we are living it. I mean, that's the current situation.
Yes.
And many of us are finding ourselves, we have those Fuliza loans, we have got microfinance loans, we've got all this. If your circumstances do change, explain it to that person. Don't hide away, and hope that you're wishing away the problem. Actually approach them, be proactive, and speak to them and tell them, look, I actually, unfortunately, lost my job. And so please, is there a way I can extend, or at least if the term was 1 year, can I pay the loan over maybe 3 years so that at least I can be able to pay whatever little income that I have, if I have any income, that is. But if not, at least what is the other thing that I can do? Is it another, do I bring that sofa set back so that at least you can either take it back, if it was, like, God forbid it was for sofa set, but if it was for maybe, just find a way of proactively finding solutions. There are actually humans and people at the end of the desks who can discuss with you and who understand your circumstances, and you can actually find a solution. So really, because that's the reality that we're finding many of.
And it is a reality that is familiar to
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah.
So the council here, instead of being stuck or hiding, and I have credit, let me go ahead and talk to my bank or my creditor, and then we can work out something, that we can restructure, and something that is workable. Right, so we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we shall look at how to develop a good discipline in financial matters, how and stuff like that. So let's take a break.
Thank you.
We have a few questions and comments, so I would like us to start with those ones before we continue. One of them is, is from Cynthia in your cafe, and I'll read all of them, then we can respond. We are always dealing with money, and unfortunately, we don't really get constant intentional guidance in managing it, as it is readily. Okay, let me read that again. Sorry. We are always dealing with money, and unfortunately, we don't get constant intentional guidance in managing it as readily as what we are taught about the workplace and things on faith as well. She says, my ears are wide open. This another person comments and says, how to make more? It's a question mark. How to manage what we have, and how to make less. Oh, I wouldn't want to make less. Please engage us here. All right, and then Andrew Mwau. I see you, Andrew. This is an interesting topic. I know I really need it, especially because I'm a husband and a father as well, and I'm ready to learn. Thank you for those comments. So let's take those comments and see whether there is some interaction aspect there, especially the absence of lady guidance.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a key challenge. In fact, there are times you don't know you have a problem until somebody highlights it. Lack of awareness on how to manage money is one of the understated challenges that people face. When you go to, for example, a hospital, you find a doctor.
Right.
They take vitals. They take, all these checks and balances. They ask you questions.
They take your history.
They take your history. They take, they ask you what you ate. When you're going for tests, you're told you're going to have a test, so don't take food in the morning. Don't do this. What are they normally doing? They're normally checking your health, and when they're checking your health, they are looking for different kind of signs and symptoms and activities that you've been undertaking that may have led you until this point. Now, for individuals, nobody has sat down and volunteered so much to tell you the reason you are here is because you took this corner, you didn't take this one, and now you just find yourself there, and it is your responsibility whether you succeeded or not. Now, maybe for us who did finance, you'd even think that we should know. But unfortunately, you go to the bank, you go to various institutions which have fairly intelligent people doing different things. But they're reflecting on my individual circumstance and how it will be a success is rarely my first objective. My first objective tends to be my career, the things that people see, where I am recognized to do different things. But whether I sat down to draw goals, not a budget. In fact, while most people will not have a budget, even planning their long term, the only time people are asked, where will your family be in 5 years, tends to be in the single, in the individual statement when you are asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years? How many times are you asked, where do you see your family in 5 years?
So the first of all, the question.
You're not even aware that you need to think about it. So here you are, 5 years later. Who thought about these 5 years?
Because I didn't think.
No, I was doing
I was
life.
busy doing life. I was in career. I was
Yes,
pursuing my career.
I was pursuing my career.
Yeah.
Who told me to plan 5 years? In fact, that person should be kneeling down here to get a few strokes. They didn't bring it to my awareness that I need to have planned 5 years, 10 years. Up to in fact, the statement we hear more is retirement, but it's so far.
Yeah.
I mean, really, by the time it comes, we'll have organized ourselves.
Yes.
How many people have organized
Quote,
themselves
yeah.
by that time?
Yeah.
So the reality is that, yes, we agree. There is really little awareness of the level of introspection you need to do about where you want to be and creating a detailed strategy to how you get there. Most times the noise is employer, circumstances, avoid police, don't be jacked on the streets. That's what you hear. And a lot of other things now. You have entertainment and these things. But on your personal, which is the last billboard you saw, which said, how have you organized your family? Have you ever seen a billboard of this nature?
I think I'm yet to see one.
Nobody brings it to your awareness. So it is your responsibility to think.
Fetch that information.
Yes.
Wow.
Where do you get it?
And most people are thinking from that question, I don't know, I should know. You know the kind of thing?
Yes.
That I don't know, I should know about my financial health or my financial information. You know, so this kind of, we're talking about financial literacy. And we are not taught, we're taught math, but we're taught math is good for counting money. You know, my grandmother used to tell me, you know, there was, I am literate enough, I can count money. You can't cheat me on money. I know how to count money. But counting is not it.
It's not management.
We're not management. It's very different. Making the money, managing it.
We're taught how to make the money,
Yeah.
we gather skills, we gather the education,
Yeah.
but how to manage that money is where the key thing is. And I'm happy that now, like even the church, as you can see here at Mamlaka, we are having those conversations because it's so critical. Because you find even people who have made a lot of it, but it just goes. Over the years, you wonder, where did
Where
all
the
that
money go?
I mean, how did that happen? So at least we're seeing they're coming up, but I think one really has to take that ownership and look for that information. Whether it's in the books or whether it's any seminar, webinar that's happening.
Find
that information because financial literacy is so key. Yes, in ensuring that at least you have some money that is left over, you know, sustainably, even past your own generation. I think it's very critical.
Wow. And most people will say, past my generation? That's even
for your children's children, as we're told.
We can't think there because currently I don't know how to make the money, and if when I make a little, I don't know how to manage it. And then here comes COVID, and I don't have a job, like we said, and then I'm in this hole. And the creditors
negative
they don't know I'm in a hole, or they may know I'm in a hole, they don't care. They just want their money because they're planning to make money out of my money. So let's talk about, let's speak to the person who may be in that space. I've been working for, and I never had the plan 5 years. But right now, I am actually in a hole. I need to get out. I have debts because the creditors are calling me and I don't have a way of paying. What do I need to do to put myself back on my feet financially?
Well, the first space is to know where you are. Okay? And to accept that's where you are. It starts with even having a discussion on the table with your significant others, family, so that they stop seeing you hiding every time there's a person showing up at the door and they wonder why your behavior has changed. Yes, you know.
I'm not in today.
By the way,
don't say I'm in.
I've been in that space where, in fact, I hear a motorbike. You know, it's like the Kenya Power. You hear a motorbike and suddenly you start sweating. And in this day of boda, there is a lot of stress because then all the motorbikes that pass by your place suggest that you have a problem. It's good to first of all sit with your family and say, listen, circumstances are such that there is a new problem. Let us, you'll be surprised that, for example, I'm living in a very nice house. Rent is becoming a challenge. My landlord has now even become bullish, harassing me. And instead of taking control and saying, listen, people, we are in a certain circumstance now, and this is what it is, we can't pay rent. I think we are temporarily, until I get a job, going to have to move to a more affordable location. In fact,
Or back home with my parents.
back home with my parents is even on the offing. And it does not make me less of a person. I am just aware that we are in a circumstance that, in fact, we had not foreseen it.
Yes, indeed.
Right? So there is no reason to bury your head in the sand, grab the bull by the horns and say, this is the problem. If not, and if you've had a great relationship with your landlord, like I've had a great relationship with our landlord, I told him, listen, you might have to take a period when you take a cut because we are in this together.
Yes.
And the guy said, I'm very happy you've had that conversation, because I was wondering, am I going to find a guy who just didn't show up? And then I don't know how we are going to handle this relationship.
Packed at night.
Yes, did he park at night and just leave? No. Forthright and saying, listen, circumstantially, because of the economy and what we can see, not because I was not working hard, it means that we might need to make some adjustments for me also to maintain my staff, to, obligations here and there. There is no extra income. So let's agree to take a cut both ways. Now, other things you need to do, if he does not or she does not agree to do that, then you need to take the next measure and tell your folks, this room you have been letting here, I need to use it for the next 3 months as we figure what we are doing. The other thing is you need to retool yourself. Money, even during this period, has still been moving somewhere. In fact, I saw, they get into 2 trillion last month from 1.8 trillion. I thought, hey, where is this money crossing? Which means there is money somewhere. The question is, are you aligned to where that money is going? Because maybe you are in hospitality, for example, and that industry was severely affected. So do I move from hospitality and I find that people are not going to supermarkets, now let me do deliveries. I can do home deliveries. I can do, you become agile. We are in the age where agility, adaptability is very, very important. Same thing as I need to move my office now from my luxurious office to home. And I work from home and everybody's doing this. This is flexibility you must have. If you are having a mortgage, and the central bank allowed people to renegotiate, restructure their loans. They did, I think, 350 billion, some of them, and huge amounts, because they're also human.
Right.
You walk in and, you say, listen, this is the structure. This is where I am. In fact, I cannot pay for this period. Can I be given a moratorium, a space? But as long as you're demonstrating responsibility, at the very first, to control expenditure. We agreed with Vera that for a certain time we had to move from the luxurious brands in the supermarket to eating the others. We have to change brands at this point, not purely because you don't have resources, but also you don't know when will another opportunity show up. How long do we have to live like this?
I think very many people struggle having this sort of conversations. Because they attach their self-worth to their net worth. They feel, because now all of a sudden I've taken a pay cut, or because now I'm not able to, I've lost my job, that means that makes me a lesser person. But really it doesn't. It doesn't. It's just your circumstances that have really changed. And I think those are the candid conversations that need to happen at home, so that, I think those are the stress factors that we're seeing all over. You can notice that quite a number of mental challenges have come up because of domestic. So you can see those as stress points, because people attach my self-worth, now that I'm not being able to bring as much money, so now what does that mean? And then you're not sharing that this is a problem that you're having, we need to change our circumstance, or I need to look for another, job. So really, we need to really detach the two and say that, you know what, this is a circumstance. Let me, if I have to, I remember there's a time we had to rent our car because we really needed money. I mean, there's other times we've considered even renting out. Is it the SQ or is it moving to a shared accommodation just to be able to survive?
Exactly.
And you know what? But when you have that candid conversation where you lay the facts, this is the way it is, lay them bare. Everyone will teams up. You become now a team and see how do we survive this season. It's our winter, like an ant. You're told,
Yes,
you gather, you store in
Yeah.
preparation for that winter because seasons change. That's the
Yes.
reality. So crises do actually come, but at least now you can team up and even as a family say, this is what we will do. And everyone has even the expectations. They will stop giving you pressures of how come we are not, that peer pressure.
Yeah.
They know that now we have to survive and we have to do everything that it takes to see how we can bring in a bit more money. And at the same time, if we have to cut back our expenditure, we have to cut back because this is our reality, and let's face it.
Exactly.
So that for this season, and then when things get better, we will pull out of it and we can do other things and we can even make our money grow at that point. But now let's just survive. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, guys. I think this seems to be all the time we have today. Thank you. It's been amazing. There are a few things we've learned that we need to develop a very good relationship with our money. That's a key point. And then we need to consider consumer spending as a negative, because once we consume what we have nothing to consume tomorrow, and that ant story is good.
Yes.
And I like the way you said a little earlier, Alex, that the analogy of a river and an ocean. Money flows where money is. So we need to figure that in our minds early on in our initial days of access to money, so that we can align our money in that sense. So that's a good one. I like the part you talked about, if you have a credit of 200,000, how one day it can become a credit of 50 million. And maybe later on in another session, we may have a chance to understand better, how does that work? How can I increase my credit worth or my credit ability to access better credit, meaning I'm doing more from the little I had. Those are nice things that I've had.
A reliable partner.
A reliable partnership, in money matters. And then, Vera, you talked about discipline. We have to discipline ourselves. And one of those disciplines is how to control our spending, our resources. This COVID season requires that we discipline ourselves greatly and our resources be controlled so that we are not stranded when this crisis becomes prolonged. And that was a valuable lesson. And then, of course, agility and flexibility in dealing with money. That's very important. So I cannot thank you enough for taking time from your extremely busy schedule to come and spare this time with our congregation. And I think this was invaluable. As far as I can say on behalf of the ones I talked to earlier, this has been an invaluable time. So thank you so much on behalf of myself and Mamlaka Hill Chapel. We are so grateful. And that's what we had time for. We look forward to seeing you again, and we look forward to hearing stories of better management of our finances, better relationship with our money, with what God has given us. My name is Maggie, Reverend Maggie Mohia, coming to you from Ruaka, and we thank God for all of you. Wish you a great time.